Tens of thousands of years before agricultural centers led to the development of villages and cities, humans gathered at permanent communal sacred sites. It was a belief in a force beyond ourselves that first brought humans together. Not agriculture or pottery, but faith. At least 10,000, maybe 12,000 years before we settled down for good, our nomadic ancestors built mud huts around and made regular pilgrimages to cultural centers like Göbekli Tepe, where they etched figures, abstract thoughts, images of the tools they used, their clothing, and other fascinating information into these huge stone megaliths. Göbekli Tepe indicates that humankind's yearning to believe in something greater and to celebrate it together is innate. I'm really not surprised at all to learn that an abstract concept such as faith seems to be a genetic trait across the diversity of our species. We were born in the stars, so it's no wonder we've been drawn back to them from the beginning of recorded history. Now, I'm not being new agey when I say that we were born in the stars. Physically, atomically, we are created from star stuff born billions of years ago, perhaps trillions of light years away from Earth. We are, at our core, star children. Our cells remember that better than our minds. Romans chapter 8, verses 22 through 25. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption to sonship, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we are saved. But hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Jesus' first zealot, Saul, later Paul of Tarsus, understood the foundational importance of faith and believed God was our partner in converting the world to love. Paul fervently believed Jesus' execution marked the beginning of a new age, that, in fact, Jesus' death was a new birth of sorts for the entire world. For Paul, the small new church in Rome, where Jews and Gentiles worshiped together, was proof of God's new realm breaking into reality. Of course, for Paul, in this new reality, everyone worships Jesus. In the letter to the Galatians, he writes, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." This sentiment might seem a bit anti-Semitic today, and insisting everyone must convert to Christianity is undoubtedly anti-Semitic. But Paul never makes such a distinction because he's Jewish, and most Jesus followers of the era were also Jewish. Paul wasn't making Christians. He saw himself as the caretaker of Jesus and his teachings, both entirely Jewish. It was the Gentiles coming to the movement who had to change and adapt to Jewish customs and cosmological ideas quite different from their Roman upbringing. So, when Paul talks about a new world where Jesus is one Lord of all, he's really envisioning the fulfillment of God's original covenantal promise to make God's people, quote, as numerous as the stars in the sky, as we read in Genesis. Brilliantly, Paul understands God's original promise to include all people, Jews and Gentiles alike. It is a remarkable point of view in the early first century of our common era, and it reminds us that initially, the Jesus movement worked hard to include people from many faith backgrounds, not lock them out for believing differently. Paul might be disappointed to see the conformity his ideas instigated 2,000 years later. Instead of diverse people not only worshiping but also working together to solve the world's problems, most Christians have cloistered into like-minded groups, each proclaiming they are the one and only true path to salvation, whatever that means. Rather than working for love and creating towns without homelessness and hunger, Christians protest outside women's healthcare clinics, and cozied up to America's empire's leadership, they created draconian laws that even the Caesars would look upon with horror. Christians today champion the very despots and billionaires Jesus decried, the same people the entire Bible opposes, Jesus would be appalled. Of course, there are also millions of people from faith communities worldwide, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and more, working faithfully to aid people in war-torn countries, to build housing communities, and advocate locally and internationally for more equitable, just laws and overall social reform. Faith can lead us in many directions because, as the author of Hebrews wrote, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And that's true whether we envision a peaceful, harmonious world of prosperity and joy for everyone or authoritarianism. Our ancestors chiseled every flower, star, rock, animal, geometric shape, and creature from their imaginations into these giant stones at Göbekli Tepe. They didn't know why seeds sprouted delicious grains or why it always rained just when they were getting ready to go for a walk. So they imagined a cosmic force behind it all. Over the millennia, our ideas about and our faith in that cosmic force have often been influenced, if not outright defined, by our faith communities. If we want freedom from our eternal conflicts, it might help to refocus our faith on love, and that unconditional. To honestly follow Jesus means recognizing everyone as part of our faith community, no matter our religions. Once we begin creating borderless faith communities, we will better care for each other as the human family we are. And perhaps one day those new, inclusive, multi-faith communities will help build a borderless world. If we are faithful to Jesus, we work not only to accept but also to appreciate all people, whether or not they're religious, no matter the expense, personal or financial. I mean, Jesus doesn't say, take care of each other within the means of your national budget. He simply and powerfully says, love one another, no matter the cost. And then he willingly goes to the cross to prove he means what he says. Jesus envisioned a society that cared for the people who needed help, tempered personal greed, and championed equitable wealth distribution. He believed people like us could create this kind of community because of our profound faith in God, a depth of faith he knows that we're all capable of, especially in community. Our question is, how do we stay faithful to God's love of community? How can we stay faithful to God's love of community? Take a couple of moments to think, and then I'll open it up to the big room for questions.